you'd be hard pressed to be able to see a scenario that you could have predicted the events of the past 5 years, all of them coming together. So, with the best tools in place, when we had them, still, it truly is unprecedented.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the VIP podcast. I am your host, Heath Sharon, and I'm excited you're here. We've got a very special guest today, someone that I've just recently gotten to know and hang out with and had dinner with and had such a good time I had to invite her to come on and hang out.
I'm going to jump in here and say
Go ahead.
had a great time with her, too.
There you go.
Amazing.
Oh,
amazing.
yay.
Make sure Chad's not left out. You feel better now?
I feel better now.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
Chad jumped in here. We're like a bunch of schoolboys fighting over, who knew her better or who had more fun. Whatever.
I'll take it.
There you go. But no, seriously, had a great time. And we talked about so many cool things. Like, you got to come on the podcast and talk about some of these things. So, Kelly Beth Maheu, get on in this house right now. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing so well. It is so good to see you.
Yeah,
so
great
good
to be
see
here.
you. So, for the audience, you're obviously not in Denver. So where are you coming from? You have the Vertafore office background, but where are you coming from right now?
I do. I am live from Orlando, Florida.
Orlando. Yes. Okay. Have you lived in Orlando long? Is that your city, like where you're from?
We've been in Orlando for about 2 years. I was in Jacksonville area in Florida for a few years as well.
Okay.
Prior to that, spent most of my time in the Midwest and Cincinnati area.
Okay.
So still definitely not a native Floridian, and still growing accustomed, but pretty used to it by now.
Okay. So what is your favorite thing about Orlando? What's the best thing about your city where you're from?
Oh my God, I have to be honest, and I'm gonna sound like the biggest nerd, but here it is. It's the birds.
The birds.
I know. Anybody who knows me well will be like, yep,
The birds. Tell me
the
about
birds again. Yeah, I'm somewhat obsessed with them, and you have so many of them in Florida. Love watching, it's a whole
So do you
thing.
have like the binoculars and like the things and like a book you can what they're all called and you could.
She has an app on
I
her
have
phone.
it all. I have it all. Yep. I have my little bird buddy outside that, with the little camera that when my visitors come each day tells me what kind they are.
Dude,
lets me
that's kind
watch
of
them.
cool. So
It's really cool. I know it's so nerdy, but you know what? At
Dude.
this point, I just embraced it. It's always been a thing for me. So Florida, love it for the birds. There's a lot of other great things about it here too.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So
Okay.
which bird is your favorite then?
Oh, my favorite. I still like the sandhill cranes. They walk around so entitled. It's so funny. They just, they're running through they're rolling through the streets like they own the place, and they pretty much do. And I just love those guys.
There you go. So it's the Heath bird. I get it. Okay. Totally get it. No, it's funny. Sidebar for a minute. So we have this cat. I don't know if you're a cat person, but we have this cat that we've had for a while. And it used to be an outside cat. Then it had too many tickets. And the people were like, if you don't keep your cat inside, we're going to take it off. But now, every time this cat's inside, she'll start like calling to birds and like making bird sounds. My cat will, like high-pitched bird sounds, try to call the birds in. And like she's going to hunt them and eat them, but she's inside the house. So she can't. I didn't know cats could do that, but my cat calls at birds and makes tweeting sounds.
Yeah, that's nefarious stuff. She's calling them with the purpose of,
Oh, yeah. Very
trying to destroy
nefarious.
them.
For sure. But one day I'm going to have to record it and text it to you. Like, you got to see this. This is crazy.
All right.
And the birds will actually come and they'll just taunt him at the window. Like, you can't get me. But
They know what's up.
they know what's up. That's pretty funny. So, all right. So let's just dive right in. Okay. So, I invited you to come on because we talked about quite a few things at dinner. We talked about, hard market. We've talked about a lot of different things. Could you, just for the audience, from your perspective and your fancy title and whatnot, what would you say is kind of like, give me an overview, what defines kind of what the hard market is from working with partners and working with people you work with, and what are some of the things that contribute to that?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, a hard market, characterized by increased premiums, high deductibles, stricter underwriting criteria, restricted terms of coverage, less competition among carriers for new business. You're also going to see demand for coverage is high, supply is low. And we'll also, often see, as we have recently, carriers that just stop writing business in high risk locations like Florida, for example, or California. And then even, exiting certain unprofitable lines altogether. It's definitely worth mentioning, and I think anybody who's been in the business for any amount of time will recognize this, but, the flux between hard and soft markets, it's certainly not a new thing, by any means. But, historically, the P&C market especially, there's been that kind of consistent cycle. And you've got the cycle between the hard and the soft. But right now we're in year 7,
Right.
6, 7 of hard market, and it's really been, as one of the most challenging and long lasting that we've seen in
100%.
decades.
And that's the thing. Like you said, normally you would see a longer soft market cycle and a shorter hard market cycle. And right now, I haven't seen. I've been at 20 something years. I haven't seen this long of a hard market ever. Typically, again, they're a couple of years long. And again, I don't know. A lot of people attribute it to COVID or to, what happened, in 2020 and the shutdown and whatnot. And some people attribute it back to even 2018, 2019 before it really kicked in with all of that. So, and again, I think a lot of it goes back to whether it's supply and demand or distribution, or it could be, the price of material goods and whatnot. So there's a lot of different factors there. Yeah. But, and you're in Florida, so that's even more unique because you got, Florida, Louisiana, California, some of those type of states really hit hard the most. As you're in that and you're working with carriers and working with, some of the partners that we have, what are you hearing how they're adjusting to this? How are they, whether it's underwriting criteria or pricing strategies, what are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, it varies, but absolutely, they're having to make adjustments and have been. I mean, we were, like I mentioned, we were in a soft market before COVID-19 for the most part.
Yep.
And, post-pandemic, all the additional burdens, in addition to that, with the climate catastrophes, nuclear verdicts, cyber attacks, you name it, so many things, the confluence of so many factors during a short amount of time, it really is kind of unprecedented. We've seen that a lot of the legacy underwriting models, they just have failed to keep pace with some of those uncertainties that we've seen. Because you'd be hard pressed to be able to see a scenario that you could have predicted the events of the past 5 years, all of them coming together. So, with the best tools in place, when we had them, still, it truly is unprecedented. And so we've got now the underwriters, they're trying to set the premiums high enough to cover those potential uncertainties, whatever they may be, unexpected. And then, and the operational costs are so high, but they also want to be competitive enough that they can retain and attract new customers. And it's really a balancing act. Increased claims, operational costs, and then they're trying to do the coverage. They're trying to set the premiums accurately to reflect the risk. And, they all have to do that while operating within a framework of regulatory requirements. So, it's constant monitoring the market for changes, adjusting those premiums, and especially in the, areas where there's increased risk, like natural disaster prone areas like,
and when agents, I talk to a lot of agents on here and we're talking to their clients, they're having to explain to them some of these things. But when underwriters and carrier reps, the agents understand that. They know kind of what's going on there. And so as they're dealing with the client being the agent or the client being the producer, the CSR, the agency owner, whatnot, some of those challenges, they're agreed upon, obviously, but, how are they able to navigate those conversations of, really a 30% increase or a 25% increase? You couldn't have done a 12 or a whatever it might be, or, you couldn't have, whatever it might have been. How are they navigating those kind of conversations when it's a shared understanding and knowledge, whereas with a client of a producer, it's a little different because you're having to educate more there. Yeah, shameless plug time.
Shameless plug. Accelerate 2025 is rolling into Charlotte.
I see what you did there. Rolling into Charlotte?
Yeah,
I like that.
Charlotte. The theme this year, if you didn't already guess,
give it to me.
Accelerate towards success, because NASCAR Hall of Fame is located in Charlotte.
Heck
We're going to be there May 6th through the 9th.
Yes.
You need to sign up now.
Yep.
Time is running out.
In Charlotte, we're bringing you into the tech hub for champions. Close your eyes, picture it. surrounded by the latest InsurTech, live demos, hands-on environment where you can test drive. See what I did there? Test drive the Vertafore's newest tools and upgrades. Whether you're looking to supercharge your agency.
Maybe you don't want to do it with your eyes closed. You told them to close their eyes.
Oh, that's true. If you're driving right now or running on a treadmill, open your eyes.
Yeah, open your eyes.
Tighten up your tech game, optimize your distribution management. This is where you're going to find your edge.
And
drum roll.
The speaker this year, our main stage keynote speaker.
Uh-oh.
Olympic gold medalist.
Uh-oh.
Michael Phelps.
No! That's incredible. So if you're ready to put your business on the fast track to success, join us in May in Charlotte, Accelerate 2025, and get ready to shift your agency into high gear.
You cannot stress the importance of the relationships enough. One of the most successful ways to survive during a hard market is by strengthening relationships with the distribution partners. So carriers should be looking for the opportunity, I'll call it, to nurture those long-lasting relationships and grow together in a hard market. They need to be extra open with communication, be proactive when it comes to new business. It's not easy. It's not easy for the agent. It's not easy for the carrier. One upside though is that taking these steps now can make the relationship stronger when the market eventually softens. Another thing that I would look at is distribution strategy. So, it's especially crucial when you're navigating the hard market conditions because carriers need to be looking at things like strategic alignment. How does a particular agent or broker support the company's goals, and can they do a better job of supporting the agent and broker? Enablement. How can the carrier use technology, infrastructure, processes to help agents and brokers improve? A big one is data sharing. How can carriers and agents come together to harness all the data that we have available now and generate those insights for the decision making, the segmentation, the product customization? And then, finally, and this may be the most important one, is customer centricity. Carriers need to pay close attention to how they receive and respond to feedback from the client via the agent or broker, and just to improve the customer experience.
So I have kind of a question, about the hard market. From your perspective, are you seeing how carriers are maybe thinking that this is the new soft market? Could this hard market be the norm now?
Yeah, it depends on who you ask. There's a lot of opinions on this. I would say overall, if we're talking about kind of my take on predictions based on what I've read, what I'm hearing from sources that I trust, at least, I think that for the most part, we are going to continue to see a hard-ish kind of market across most lines for a while. The last few events of 2024, and even going into early 2025, I think that's really exacerbated the uncertainties. As we head into Q2 now of 2025, I think there will be some softening of the market in some lines. But I really don't, unfortunately, think we're going to see significant premium or limit relief overall anytime soon.
Yeah, my opinion, and again, he's Sharon's opinion. I truly believe that we're not going to see, a whole lot of movement as far as hard. So I think we are, as Chad's point, I think we are in a new norm, across the board. I think that, it's going to be really hard for carriers to go back down to rates they might have been at 2016, 17 because of the inflation. It's because of the, supply and demand, because of all of the things, labor cost, all of the different things out there. I think it's going to be hard for them to get there. But, that being said, you brought up a whole lot of things that I forgot a pad and paper because I should have been writing all this down. But you had a lot of things that you brought up as far as, the answer to that question, which I thought was amazing. But one of the things, you talk about, if you can't change the price, you can't change some of those things, then carriers need to find a better way to add value outside of pricing. And so you talk about some of those things, and obviously we work for a large technology company, and so we obviously have products for them. What kind of technology can you see them using to help, whether it be get back to the agent quicker or help them to do this or that, faster? Because again, a lot of times it's first in, first out when it comes to submissions and getting stuff out. What are we doing? What are you seeing us doing? Can you answer that question at a high level?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of innovation and exciting ways carriers are using tech to navigate this market. Like I said, if there's one thing we've learned and really cemented in the last 5 years, it's we have to expect the unexpected. So a lot of carriers are doubling down on prioritizing their risk assessment capabilities
Yeah.
and using data analytics to better understand and manage those emerging threats. I mean, that's huge. The proliferation, easy for me to say, of data sources and analytical power, it continues to unlock new capabilities. And carriers are using automation, AI to better interact with their customers. And that's across the value chain. So that's going to be product design, underwriting, pricing, claims. And one way we're seeing the responsible use of AI, I'll say, is to support underwriting to better understand and predict those risks. And it's not as much, I would say it starts with data, although today the challenge is not as much getting the data as it is effectively using the tools to assimilate and analyze it. Carriers are really kind of just starting to effectively use predictive models and AI in really meaningful ways that are, in scalable ways. They're using partnerships and new technology to help get them there.
Yeah, I think, we talk about data and you talk about AI and a lot of these different things. And you brought up a good word that we hear a lot in Vertafore, we hear a lot in carriers and MGA and agencies, is that word legacy and the legacy systems, and that people, even on the agency side, the carrier side, MGA side, that's the way we've always done things and whatnot. And AI now and ChatGPT and some of these things now is what internet may have been in like the 90s or whatever. It took us a long time to finally get our heads around, okay, this is the internet. We're going to start using email now. We're going to get rid of file cabinets, but it took a long time. Do you feel like we're in that with AI and ChatGPT, or is it going to be a little shorter of a window there and people are going to start adopting a little bit quicker?
It's hard to tell. I mean, we've seen the interest, we've seen the kind of the introductory adoption in so many ways, but as far as wide scale use of AI across a business, I don't think we've seen that as much. Now, will that hasten as far as the next few years? I believe so for most organizations. I think to keep up, you're going to have to do that. It's just going to be because some are going to do it. And if you don't, you're going to be left behind. And so, it's going to depend. And we know that, how legacy a system, particular carriers use varies greatly between them, depending on so many factors. But I really do think that we're going to see, 3 years from now, we're going to be having a completely different conversation about, AI and the ways in which it's being effectively used and to what scale.
I would say even too, it's already sort of being used, and I think people don't realize how it's already being used. It's kind of in the background and the automation tools that we already have. I think it's going to be an easier conversation to get people on board because of that too.
Yeah, and I even go back to, again, I'm an old guy, so going back to the 90s, that little paperclip that would come up in the word processing or whatever, to me, that was an early form of AI that would be able to tell you.
I'm not familiar with that, Keith.
I understand, because I'm a lot older than you are, but there was a little paperclip icon that would come up in Word, and it would tell you, like, here's some corrections you can make, here's some suggestions here, and that was like early versions, in my opinion, of what that could be. But you talk about AI, and as we get into this, and I won't dive too deep into it, but yeah.
What are some things right now that you're doing with carriers to kind of pull back the curtain and go, here's what is going to work for our tech in the future?
Yeah, so there are a lot of new and improved carrier solutions that help simplify and automate that client carrier relationship. by doing a number of things, including expand market reach. That's really important right now, and improving how that information is exchanged. For example, solutions that allow real-time quoting capabilities. Carriers can adjust rates dynamically, based on market conditions, risk factors. There's another thing that we've seen, a lot of carriers have been talking about and implementing is parametric coverage. So during a time when there's a hard market and we've got a lot of these, wildfires and things like that, rather than that traditional indemnity model, because partly it's attractive because it pays out more quickly and it's triggered by these kind of predefined parameters. I mentioned the wildfires, but a lot of P&C insurers exclude wildfire, and in several states, well, they can't. In several states, they can't exclude it, but they can restrict the amount of capacity or offer that limited coverage. So parametric can be a really attractive alternative there that we're seeing them implement a lot.
Yeah, I love to hear you talk about, because I've gotten into studying a little bit more about the parametric and understanding a little bit more about what that is. And so that we're staying finger on the pulse on some of those kind of things is really, really cool. And I'm glad to hear, for our audience to be able to hear that we are finger on the pulse on those types of things. And, being in the role that you're at in working with different partnerships that we have, whether they're Orange partners or other, companies that we're working with or whatnot, what is, some of that kind of stuff that you're seeing outside of parametric, or some of the things that you're seeing some other partners of ours doing that I think would be maybe our audience doesn't know about, or just some things that you might be able to talk about that they'd be interested in hearing?
Yeah, sure. So as part of my role, I work with a lot of our MGA and carrier partners. So the Orange partners, integration partners, strategic partners. I'm talking to a lot of potential partners out there in the industry. So I'm very honed in on what's going on in that space. And it's really important because carriers, especially in the hard market, are, there's certain things that they're implementing as far as, you mentioned, Heath, delivering value beyond price, because minimizing rates is just not an option all the time for carriers in a hard market. So they have to deliver that value in different ways. So one strategy that I run into a lot that I'm seeing partners involved in, and the MGAs we talk to, as well as leveraging surplus lines. Flexible coverage options, creative solutions, for those hard to place risks, they can step in where that traditional coverage fails. We're seeing that a lot, creating custom coverage forms, risk specific pricing. Carriers can add unique risk management requirements and structure those creative deductible options. We see a lot of carriers use surplus lines to do a lot of things, maintain market presence in challenging sectors, test new products or coverage approaches, really be innovative, cover unusual risks that exceed standard market scope, and develop that specialized expertise in the niche markets. And many carriers are partnering with MGAs.
Sure
and
are.
We spend a lot of time with MGAs. We offer a lot of MGA solutions, and they're so skilled, at managing that risk niche markets. And they're so, their ability, specialized knowledge, and they're able to navigate that complex regulatory landscape, and they can, offer that coverage when others can't. So for carriers, partnering with MGAs, it's really a great way for them to access those critical markets and diversify their portfolios and add value in different ways.
Yeah, 100%. And my little brother is an underwriter for a large MGA and been there for a while. And for that first, 10 or 12 years he was there, he was kind of like just kind of trucking along. But he's like, over the last 5 or 6 years, I'm everybody's best friend. Being an MGA underwriter and working with E&S, he's like, even as you mentioned, stuff that normal standard markets would have taken in the past are now coming to him. And, and they use, MGA systems, and they're, with some of our products that we have, and they're like, it's a game changer to be able to have some of that technology. And so, every time I see him, whether it's at a ball game or lunch or dinner, he's always like, man, thank you guys for what you're doing at Vertafore, what's going on, because it's really made a difference. And he was like, I never thought I would say that, but it really, really is, for him to be able to, because again, it's speed and it's getting back quicker, and some of the things that we're doing is really cool. So And I know that your
Absolutely.
team's a part of that and the conversations you're having. So
Yep.
again, thank you.
Oh, of course. No, it's a lot of fun. It's an interesting and exciting space to be in. So, I love working with our partners and, our clients, and it's a great place to be.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us for a little bit and being a part of the program. I hate to have to sign out, but we got to do what we got to do. But thank you again for being here and being a part of this. And I can't wait to talk to you again more and have more dinner conversations about all kinds of fun stuff.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. And VIP, we do this show for you because we love you guys, our audience, and we hope that you will subscribe on YouTube, on any channel you can find that has something. Keep, paying attention to what's going on. We've got a lot of announcements coming up. We've got Accelerate coming up. We've got, the Agency One, more announcements about that. We've got a lot going on right now. So keep paying attention and stay involved, and we'll see you on the next one.